Welcome to the Salt Strong Podcast, disrupting fishing entertainment as you know it. Prepare to laugh. Prepare to get to know fishing legends in a whole new and unfiltered way. And on occasion, you might even learn a thing or two about fishing. Here's your host, Joe Simons. Like diamonds.
7 beginner saltwater fishing mistakes to avoid. Hey everybody, Joe Simons, Like Diamonds, back again here, Salt Strong Podcast. We got something really cool going on at the Salt Strong main headquarters in Winter Haven, Florida, and that is a fish camp for kids the entire summer. And I think it's a little bit too late. It's already filled up and everything, but it's I think it's for 7 weeks. And anywhere from 20 to 25 kids every single week, getting to learn everything from all the strongest knots to even how to make some of their own lures and doing Cuban yo-yo where they're fishing with just essentially an old yo-yo with no rod or reel, going out and learning how to find clams and other types of crustaceans in the lake to use them for bait on some of the smaller fish like bluegill, and then using the bluegill and some of the shiners to catch big bass. And there's been some like 8.5 pounders caught with these young little kids. It's so cool. My son Jackson caught a lunker himself, and he was so proud of it. So I tell you all that not to brag about the fish camp or to sign you up for it, because I said it's too late. But why I've been there, I've been going in and out and chat with some of these kids, and some of them know who I am. Some of them have no idea. They think I'm just some random dad that's there. But a couple of these young kids said, "Oh yeah, I've saw you on the Salt Strong stuff," and a couple of them were telling me that they're really getting into fishing, and they all live for the most part in Central Florida, and they're asking me about saltwater fishing. Like, well, hey, like what are the mistakes? And one kid was like, "Yeah, I'm going to go use this rod." He's showing me his setup that he's going to take saltwater fishing, and it just got me thinking about all the mistakes that most newbies make when they go saltwater fishing. And I was like these kids, so it brought a lot of smile to my face because I started off bass fishing, so did Luke. And as we made the transition over, we made all the same mistakes that I'm going to share with you. We didn't make all of them, but we made most of them. Some of them we did the opposite, and I'll explain what that means in a second. But let's get into it. I think the first one, and this is going to shock some of you guys, but I think one of the biggest mistakes is starting exclusively with lures. And I say it's going to shock you because I'm a lure guy, right? I rarely use live bait. We promote lures. We sell a lot of lures. We don't talk about live bait as much as we do lures. But if you've watched our fishing school, the very first tip in there for beginners is to avoid lures and start with shrimp. Everything eats shrimp, and you don't have to have a boat. You don't have to have even a kayak. You can go to any pier. You can go to bridges. You can go to shore. If you find some area with some structure, some rocks, and some moving water, and you got live shrimp, you're probably going to catch something. And so I think I on the flip side, we've done some, hey, these are mistakes that you can only catch fish with live bait or shrimp. That's also not true, right? But I think to start, you would be, unless you've just got a ton of experience with lures as like a bass angler and you're so confident, I would say for most beginners, including these kids who were talking all about lures and I from what I could see, didn't have the experience yet in terms of casting and even rigging and retrieving. I would say one of the biggest mistakes is to start with just lures, that they need to probably buy a couple dozen shrimp and just go out there and get a bunch of tight lines and start figuring out what good spots look like, etc. The other one, number 2, would be buying a nice boat or nice kayak right away. And even if we start selling kayaks or boats in the future, which may or may not happen, I don't have no idea. But even if we did, I would still say that same advice. I think one of the worst things that can happen, and I've seen some of my friends do it, they get real excited, they finally get into fishing, and they go buy this really nice boat without really thinking through how they're going to use it. And like, here's a good example. Had a friend who finally got back into fishing, had been many, actually not years, decades, and went out and bought this really nice, big 26-foot bay boat. And, has a family, so I get why he got the big bay boat, but realized pretty quickly that it's big, right? Anytime you start getting over 23, 24 feet, a lot changes, right? You got a bigger trailer, you got to store it in a different type of place. I mean, a 26-foot boat is a lot different than a 21-foot boat. Everything changes, and even how you dock it and the size of your lift, if you have to get a lift or if you're storing it, they charge by the foot. And he started regretting it pretty quickly. And obviously your draft is not as good. meaning you can't get as shallow in a 26-foot boat compared to like a 21-foot bay boat or even a smaller skiff. And he realized that, you know what, my family doesn't even want to go out with me that much because he was really into fishing. He's like, I should have just gotten like a 17-foot little skiff where I could take out 1 or 2 people, and then rented a boat on the 2 to 3 times per year that his family really wants to go out there and go to the sandbar, or even better yet, find a friend that has a big bay boat and will take you and your family out to the sandbar. So I tell you that because that story is probably been told so many times by other people in the same boat, pun intended, that are like, man, I wish I hadn't bought that. I wish I had spent a little bit more time testing out some stuff or going out with some more friends before I invested heavily in a really nice boat. Same with kayaks, right? There's different types of kayaks. There's some kayaks that are really awesome for fishing. They're also really heavy. And you might realize that, man, I don't have the right vehicle for it, or maybe I'm getting too old, or I've got, shoulder issues where I can't even lift this kayak up into the truck. So I would always just tell people, don't go buy all the nicest stuff right away, including any kind of tackle or gear. Test stuff out. Start small, start easy, start with something that you could sell real quickly or even give away, and it's not going to absolutely ruin you. Nothing worse than buying like a super expensive boat, especially if the economy changes and you're stuck with it. So that's number 2. The other one is going too heavy with gear, line, etc. The one kid, I mean, he had a broomstick of a rod, and I was telling him, like, hey man, like for saltwater fishing, even though, yeah, you might catch bigger fish, because that's our thought of why we get really heavy gear. What if I catch, a 30-pound snook or a big old 50-inch redfish? I'm going to need something really big to get them in. And that is true. But most of the time, you're not catching really, really big fish like that. You're catching little trout and little redfish where you need to have sensitivity. You need to have really light line where you can make far casts and you can feel the strike and you can set the hook better. So going too heavy with gear is another one. Buying too much tackle. Keep it simple. Even though we sell a lot of tackle, we've gotten to, in my opinion, a crazy amount of different colors and stuff. And it's not because we really want to, it's because people just keep asking for it. And if they're going to go buy it somewhere else, we might as well make it awesome and give them to them at a great low price. But I still say keep it simple. And I do believe that, anglers get confident with certain colors or even molds, and that's just their go-to thing, and that's fine. And it could be that color, for whatever reason, just works great in your backyard. Heck, use it. But really become a master at 1 or 2 things. Keep it super simple. Now, if you look at my tackle bag or Luke's, we had a few people that went out with us recently, some chapter presidents, and I think they had heard us say it many times, but they were still kind of blown away that everything we had could fit in a small little fanny pack. I mean, I keep some other stuff around, like, fillet knife and a couple extra set of pliers in case one falls in. But for the most part, I could take everything I need in a really, really small little fanny pack. Keep it simple. The other one, everyone kind of knows this one. It's fishing in the same spots over and over again. I vividly remember, maybe you've heard Luke and I on webinars and stuff talk about this guy, Dennis Aust. Is a great family friend. He was a great fisherman, still around to this day, and just a great angler, and really, really knew how to find fish because he spent so much time doing it. And he took us out to this spot in near Boca Grande in Port Charlotte, and we absolutely crushed it. It was the first time we ever caught like a legit slam, all there in one spot. And we thought from that day on that we were set. Like, we got our spot. It's game over, baby. We're going to catch a slam every time. And we kept going back to that same spot, and it didn't work anymore. And what we didn't know is there's things called trends, and that fish have tails and no fences, and they're moving. And we weren't fishing every week. And the next time we went back might have been 3 months, and we weren't talking about a whole other season, right? Those fish are long gone. And we did that, I don't even know, maybe 10 times. Almost embarrassing to say it, back to that same spot, and never caught fish there again. It was that one time it worked because we happened to be there at the right spot at the right time based on trends. So don't fish the same spots over and over again. Go explore. And if you need help, this is the next tip, is not using technology, not using shortcuts like smart fishing spots. There's a reason we created a lot of this stuff, and not just an app, but even all the education that goes with it. I mean, everything we have in the fishing school, I mean, that is 20 years of trial and error boiled down into 35, 40 minutes. I mean, where else can you find stuff like that? So use technology, use shortcuts. And then the final piece of it is not having a coach, right? I've got 3 kids. A lot of you know this. and they're all into different things. My middle daughter, used her, for example, she's really gotten into water skiing. Guess what we did? We got our coach, right? Jackson now is getting into tennis. Guess what? We hired a coach. He's in some group coaching and even some individual one-on-one coaching with a pro who has done it and knows how to coach someone. It is so weird that fishing is one of the few things that you don't get a coach for. It's almost like there's pride, this male pride of going out and figuring out ourselves, trial and error, and take 20 years to do something. There are fishing coaches. We have them at Salt Strong. For all I know, we kind of created the whole term fishing coach. And it's like anything. If you want to become great at something and you value your time, which I know you do if you're listening to this podcast, then why wouldn't you want to have a coach? And even if you don't have a coach, why wouldn't you want to learn from others, be part of a network and a community where you can constantly learn? I mean, we didn't build all this stuff just so we can toot our own horn. We did it because that's everything we wished was around when we were inconsistent, and it's everything we wish was around today as we're continually trying to learn and continually trying to get better. We all, including Luke, who's one of the most consistent anglers I've ever been around. I mean, he's constantly learning from other members in the community, from other coaches, from other people he fishes with. It is a never-ending, non-stop learning experience. So those are the 7 beginner saltwater fishing mistakes to avoid. I would love your feedback on other ones. I'm sure there's probably 30 other ones out there. Those are the 7 that just came to my mind as I was talking to these cool kids out there, and I'm going to share this with them as well. And we'll probably go out and film something on the water, kind of showing the right way to do it. Like, hey, here's mistake number 3 was going too heavy with gear and line. Here's the right way to do it, and kind of show the correct way on all 7 of these things. So hope that makes sense. Hope you guys appreciate that. And if you have any other thoughts or questions or other mistakes, leave them down in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll talk to you on the next episode. 'Cause fishing, it's